I'd like to add an internationally recognized love coach, author, and dating expert at findaqualityman.com. She teaches women over 50 how to feel confident and empowered while dating. I think it's so important that women over 50 recognize that there is a dating life. There is something to really look forward to. What do you have to say to Jane?
Well, when I work with women, they come from all ages of 50s, 60s, and 70s, and they really can find great guys. It takes not only dating strategies, but more importantly, you need the mindset shift.
Are you ready to get growing with Kathy Holloway Hill, psychologist, author, talk show host?
And it might not be the right thing to do.
Exactly.
That should be an upgrade where you learn to communicate.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
As much as I've proved, I still have that urge to prove again.
If you want to talk about the love of Jesus, I'm all open for the conversation.
There is more that unites us.
Dr. Maya Angelou, how are you doing today?
My name is Kathy Holloway. I'm doing very well.
If you're overthinking, overreacting, over-scrutinizing, or overanalyzing, then train your mind to gain renewed optimistic wisdom. Grow with Kathy Holloway Hill.
Are you over 50 and asking yourself, where are all the single quality people? Well, we have an expert that's going to help answer that question today. And I first saw this beautiful young lady on Dr. Phil as an expert. So trust me when I say she knows her stuff. Miss Lisa Copeland, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kathy. It's so nice to be here with you.
It is really great to have you because we have so many people that need you today. And it's incredible, Lisa, because I was kind of doing a little bit of research and I came across a statistic, and you can tell me, is this really true? It said nearly 30% of people over 50 are single. Now, they may be divorced or widowed or whatever, but they're single.
Yeah. We're like the first generation that did not stay in marriages that were not working like our parents did. And there are a lot of single people. Spouses passing away always happen, but it's the divorce rate that has skyrocketed in our age group.
Yes. You know, I'm glad you mentioned that. So let's begin there.
Okay.
So we know, and we're going to just help the over 50s, and we're talking over 50, over 60, even over 70. People still want love.
Yeah.
So
I've had women write me in their 80s. I mean, I think everyone, they want the touch, the closeness.
Yes, the companionship.
At the end of the day. Yes, companionship.
So do you see a lot of first divorce, second divorce, or even third divorce? Do you see a lot of that?
I'll tell you what I see a lot of since COVID is women that have never been married are stepping forth, and they really, really want that companionship. Now, when it comes to divorces, I would say there's a lot of first divorces, and then there's also a lot of second. I don't seem to have many clients for third and fourth, although I know they're out there, but they are usually, they have their own style because they usually have quite a string of divorces, but a lot of people have been divorced 2 times. And the reason for that is they usually have one long marriage and one short marriage. Yeah. And it can be on either side of it. And that's usually pretty acceptable in the dating world, with 2 divorces. When you start getting into 3, 4, and 5, some people start to back away and go, oh my gosh, something's going on here. But it doesn't mean there is, it just, people can be really judgy. Is what it really is.
Yeah. And, sometimes people, maybe they're addicted to marriage. I mean, they don't like, just dating. They just want that commitment. There's tons of reasons for lots of marriages.
There's people, they love the idea of falling in love because when you fall in love, the hormone oxytocin is released. And that's why it feels so good. It's the bonding hormone. And it does feel good. And when you get into a relationship, relationships take work and you don't have that buzz that you get from the falling in love process. And usually people that have been married 5, 6 times, they're shorter marriages usually. And I think you hit the point there that it's that wanting to feel that high again of falling in love.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You mentioned a big area that I want to spend a little bit of time on, and that is people over 50, typically women, the ones I come across, who have never been married, but they are so anxious to be married, yet they've never been married. What is going on, Lisa? What are they doing right, wrong? What's going on? Please help those people.
There's men too, by the way, that have never been married. It's both sexes. But for women, what I've encountered is that women put this part of their life on hold for careers. Some people just liked being alone. And I really feel COVID brought out this place of isolation where they realized, no, I don't want to do this anymore. I have a great life, but I really, really want that partner. And I don't think there's anything wrong with any of them. It's just that they've made life choices that were different than what society calls should be the norm. And I've had lots of women who have never been married find great guys, in their life. And I've taught them how to do that. The thing about having been married is learning to adapt to another person. I think when we get to our age, we're very, very used to our ways and how we do things. And that's probably one of the hardest parts for someone that's never been married, is to adapt to that. But that being said, at this age group, you don't have to get married. You've got lots of choices that when you were younger and you were looking for a father for your children, you have one choice, at least for our age group. Today, young kids, they have choices too. But now you do have choices. You can have men as friends. I always encourage my clients to have men as friends because you want to be around male energy. And there's guys that you're just not going to be romantically involved with, and they make great friends to hang out with. The other one is friends with benefits. It is not something I really recommend, and I'll tell you why. Every time as women we have sex, men do too, we release the bonding hormone oxytocin. But in a woman, it lasts up to 3 weeks. In a man, it can last about 30 minutes.
You mean every time they have intercourse, it lasts?
Wow. Or anytime, any kind of intimacy.
Okay.
Yes. It feels good. Part of what you're releasing is the bonding hormone that also is the same hormone of falling in love. That's how you can re-fall in love with intimacy. And intimacy also at this age can look different than it does, when you're in your 20s and 30s and 40s and teen years too. So for 3 weeks, we hold on to this bonding to a man, and he can be saying to you, yeah, I'm great with friends with benefits. And because you're bonding constantly with him, your heart comes in and you start to fall in love with the guy who's not going to be there for you in a full relationship. And so always listen to what men tell you and be leery of being in friends with benefits, because you can get really hurt if you mix up lust and love. The other way you can be is you can just have a boyfriend, someone to hang out with and go places with and just do stuff with. You can also be in a long-term committed relationship, living together or living apart, and marriage. So there's lots of options that you didn't have when you were younger.
Well, here's a question that I have heard from women and men. So let's begin for the women. I've heard this question. When they're dating or when they meet someone new, they let the person know up front, I'm looking for a husband. I want to be married. Is that a yes, you're correct, you should do that, or a no, do not do that?
Well, I think if you're in your 20s, you definitely want to do that. I think part of it at this age, marriage carries financial complications with it. If you absolutely want to be married, there's nothing wrong with it. Just check with the financial person to get the consequences of melding finances and keeping finances apart. A long-term committed relationship, living together, is an option that takes out that financial situation. And that includes Social Security too. Those types of things are affected when you remarry. So a lot of women I speak to tell me they don't want to marry. A lot say they do want to marry. But I say start by going out and just having fun, meeting different men, and see where it goes. Because as I said to you, all these options that you do have means you don't have to make a decision before your cup of coffee is done, which is what so many people do. And you just want to go out there and have fun in the beginning. And you're going to have some practice relationships. And you're going to learn a lot about yourself and a lot about men. But if you're just going out there with the intention of I have to get married, you're going to get frustrated, and you're going to have a harder time finding the guy, because you're, like I said, you're trying to figure it out before a cup of coffee is done. And you sort of have to get into a relationship to see where it goes. I mean, it's different at this age than when you were younger. You don't have to be married. Yeah. Doesn't mean someone's not loving you and committed to you. They can be, very much so. Does that all make sense?
Absolutely, it does. Now I'm getting ready to ask you about, because I hear this from both sides. I hear tons of men say there are no quality women out there. Yeah. And then I hear a ton of women say there are no quality men out there. So for the men who are watching this, we know men are very visual.
Yes.
So they have this long list of visual preferences that they want from head to toe. The body looks like this, the face looks like this, the hair looks like this. Talk to those men and tell them sometimes your standards might be, we're talking women over 50, 60, 70. They're not going to look like a 25-year-old model.
So I don't think all men are like that. In fact, I think a lot of men are looking for a relationship with someone who's just nice, someone that they can give to and give their heart to, and make happy. You're talking about the men, usually like men who are very wealthy and in positions of power. Yes, they are going to go for younger women because that's who wants them. Otherwise, younger women usually want an older guy unless they have a daddy issue. But they have to probably have money and power. That's the reason. And they want the money. And you see it work out with Paul McCartney. He's got like a young person, but look how powerful and wealthy he is. Yep. But I would say that most men, the average male, it's really, and there are exceptions, exactly what you're talking about, but they really do just want a woman they can make happy. And the problem is both sexes are oftentimes looking for the needle in the haystack that doesn't exist. They're looking for that instant chemistry. Big hot news. Chemistry is hormones. Chemistry isn't going to sustain you in your 80s. You need somebody who's going to have your back and be there for you through the process of aging. Mm-hmm. It's not about that kind of, that instant, hard, exciting chemistry anymore. Yeah. And actually a lot of men will say that they want to get married too, by the way. A lot of men do want to get married.
Yes, they do.
And they will say they just want this friendship. They want the closeness and the intimacy that comes however that shows up. Like I said, it's so different at this time. And the real thing is everybody has to get clear on what they want, and they have to get realistic. It's not settling. It's getting realistic on what you want in your 50s and as you're aging, 50s, 60s, 70s. What do you want in your life? Do you want someone that you're going to travel with? Do you want someone that has a life of their own, plus the two of you create a life? Do you want someone that will fit in with your family? Get real clear on value-oriented qualities versus he's handsome, he's thin. A lot of women say, I don't want a guy who has a beer belly. And I say to them, that's changeable. A guy can lose weight. A guy's personality is what you're looking for. He's got to match values with you. That's what's important. Great to have the qualities. They're a wish list. It's the meshing of your values that's so important.
I love that, Lisa. That is so true, because you're right. Now, as we all age, we're all going to change visually.
Yes.
But those values and those beliefs and that compatibility, that's just solid. And having your back and someone to support you through, we're aging. There may be some health challenges, and those things are very important. And yeah, I really don't think an older person will try to go for that 20-year-old. They're not ready to be caregivers.
Well, unless you have a lot of money and you're going to give it to them, and you're
right. Unless right, unless you're going to pay them to do it. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. And it's like dating your grandfather. And right. Yeah. It doesn't feel good for most women.
It doesn't. If you get too caught up in the visual and the physical and all of that, you're going to really miss somebody who may look beautiful on the outside. They are just a mess on the inside, and they may have so much drama and trauma stored up in there that you miss it because you're focused on how they look. And the opposite also holds true. You may find a person with the kindest spirit on the planet, but they're just not wrapped in the right packaging, and you miss out on it. So I just really hope that doesn't stall people.
Well, for women, attraction can build. I always tell my clients, give a nice guy a chance. Go out with him 3 or 4 times, see what his actions are, because you hit the nail on the head. Our society is so beautiful focused, and that's the value, but that's not really the value. So women will be afraid, men too, by the way, to approach someone they think looks interesting because they've put such high value on the looks. Instead of thinking, I am amazing and they need to prove to me that they're worthy of me. It's usually, and especially for women, we turn ourselves inside out to prove to a man that we're worthy of them.
Yes.
And I will say men have to have initial attraction,
yes.
But for most men, it's not what we think it is, in terms of they have to be small, petite, blonde hair, blue eyes, whatever it is. Yes. Most men are really not like that. They want someone that's attractive to them, and they have to have that. But we as women, it'll grow. A guy can really grow on us, who when we first meet, we go, we're not so sure, but you hit it on the head, nail on the head too. And you said it's really what's inside of everybody that's so important. It's not the outside at all.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I want to ask you about this piece, because this is actually what you were talking about when I saw you on Dr. Phil, and you were so sweet and so knowledgeable and just so experienced in your work, and later on in the show we're going to give your contact information, but you were talking about, it was an older lady on there who had been catfished. And so I want to talk about dating websites, and what is your advice and your insight into dating websites. Do you think they work, or would you recommend specific ones for people over 50? Because there is a lot of catfishing and fake identity stuff going on. And that just really, it can destroy you on the inside.
Yes, it can. And on Dr. Phil, it was really about scammers. These men, like, the catfishing situation too, intertwining the words, but they have fake identities and they pull women in. So let's start with how that happens. It usually happens when a woman doesn't feel so great about herself. A really good looking guy shows up, and usually it's a fake picture, which if you saw the Dr. Phil show, it very much was. And they brought the guy whose picture was used on to try and prove to her that she was dating a scammer. But it's usually you're feeling lonely. Then this gorgeous looking guy, too good to be true, pops in and says hi, gets you on the phone very, very quickly. They cannot sustain the English language in written form and spends hours and hours and hours talking to you, finds out the most intimate details of you, what I call your Achilles tendon is, your pain point, and then identifies with it. You feel super understood and you think, oh my God, I'm falling in love with this amazing guy. So here's how to avoid that. First of all, do not write in your profile that you're lonely. It comes across as desperation, and it's like a radar that says, okay, scammer, I'm available. And we don't realize we're doing that, okay? Leave out stuff like I'm looking for my soulmate, that and loneliness, leave them out of there. Secondly, do 5 to 10 short emails on the site itself. Don't get into heavy duty discussions, whether it's a scammer or not a scammer. The emails are really just for play, for fun, to see if you want to have a phone call with them. That's all it is. And this goes back to that idea. You cannot figure out if someone's the one from emails, phone calls, or coffee. It takes time to figure this out. When we were young, we hung out with people. We didn't go out with a guy and say, oh, this guy's my husband on that first date. And we put that tremendous pressure on ourselves to do that now. All right, 5 to 10 emails, short and sweet. No more than 2 phone calls. Any more than that, you're giving away too much information, because you create stories in your head of who people are from these phone calls that don't necessarily match up when you meet. And number 3, get to that meet and greet within 2 to 3 weeks of initial contact. If they can't meet, and that is the sign of a scammer right there, someone that can't meet, and they're very truthful in many ways. They'll say, a lot of them come from Ghana, and they'll say, and Nigeria, and they'll say, I'm in Ghana, I'm in Nigeria working on an oil rig. So they keep part of it truthful. Well, then you need to say, well, when you come back into our area, give me a call. And if you have not spent hours on the phone with that guy, you have no bonding connection happening with him. So dating sites, though, you asked about, they're a great way to meet guys. But to do it, you need to feel good about yourself. You need to have a clear vision of who you want that is not your old type, because if your old type worked, you'd be with your old type. And women keep doing the pattern of the old type.
Yes.
You also need to have a really good profile. It's short and sweet, a little about you, a little about what you want with him, maybe a little story that brings him in. And if this sounds like you, I hope you'll reach out to me. That's it. Don't get into books for online dating. And the most important thing, really good pictures that shows a smile. That's important. Men love women's smiles.
Yes. I love what you said about the little essay part when you're doing online dating. Make sure that essay part has you coming across as a strong individual, that, I am not one to be taken advantage of, without sounding too, self-centered, of course. And I also want to just help people and just give them, there is a website, and I don't know if it's a website or if it's just something that's out there. It's called Google Images.
Oh, yeah. You can take
do a reverse lookup on an image.
Yes, you can download the picture and put it on Google Images. And I also send clients to this woman. If it's okay with you, I'd give you her name because she was nearly scammed. So she created a business, and it's a little bit more than looking someone up on the computer dating site, but she's personal about it. And she's helped many of my clients. Her name is Julie Natasha Way, and her company is called Asti, ASTE.io. She's young, but she is amazing. And she has been so helpful to clients to make sure, like, the picture's validated, but they couldn't get, the client was having a hard time getting information in terms of, is this guy really real or not real? Or what does he really do? And I don't really think you need to go and investigate every guy you're going out with. I think you need to use your instincts. But I think if anything is a little fishy, that's when Julie is really helpful in doing that and helping you find that out.
Well, just so that you all know that this is real, I did my own one day just to kind of see, because I've had all different length hair. I've had really long hair, then I had really short hair. And I took some of my pictures from years ago and I did a reverse search. And I was shocked. I'm like, what the heck? What am I doing up on this website? That's me. Why am I on there? So you really, it wouldn't hurt to kind of check yourself.
True. But yes, you can, but you can't get it off of Google. So
no, you can't get it off, but at least you know that somebody's using you.
Oh, yes, that you can tell. And there are programs you can get to get your private information off of the internet. But the thing that I suggest when you're first meeting with someone, use a Google Voice number because it's not traceable.
Yes.
And when you set up a Gmail account, don't put your full name, just put your first name, and they'll say, oh, well, if your account goes bad, we need another account to be able to contact you. Don't do that, because your other account will have your full name on it. And then that becomes traceable to the Google email you're going to use and the Google voicemail dating. Google Voice, it won't translate, but the Google email. And that'll help keep your identity private until you're ready to share your email. I'm sorry, your real phone number.
Yes. Yes. Now, what do you think about some of the old-fashioned ways, like going out to bars? And I don't even know if speed dating is still a thing.
I think it is, but it's not so much. I don't know. I haven't seen it around quite as much anymore. I think COVID changed a lot of that.
Yeah.
But you can go out and go with one friend, sit at a bar, just start talking to people. I know people that have met in the grocery store and gotten married. I had a client that got married. There are people that do want to get married, but she met her husband in the when she was going to get her license renewed. And she had said to me, I can't do online dating. I absolutely can't. I take terrible pictures. And I taught her how to go out and flirt. And like when you walk into an area, scope out the room, see who's standing there alone, and she did that. And this guy was sitting alone and she went. And while they're waiting, they started a conversation. And like I said, today they're married. But it's just, there's lots of places to meet men. We think, oh, nobody's anywhere, but yeah, everybody's everywhere. And if you talk to enough
people, don't feel rejected just because, if they don't react or respond the way you want them to, move on. It's okay.
Yes. And you're not going to be everyone's type, just like a lot of men are not your type and you reject them. You have to just look at it as you don't fit the picture.
Yeah.
Or I don't fit the picture of who he wants. That's all it is.
Yeah. I'm 6 feet tall. I've been tall my entire life. And, I don't really want to say it, but I would prefer not to date someone 5'6". So
this is a huge issue for women, this height thing. And
Well, I'm 6 feet tall, so I have a right to do that. But come on, you're 5'4", and you just will not date anybody under 6 feet. Come on, that's too much.
Yes. So I always tell women, the only reason that you think you need a 6-foot guy when you're 5'4" or 5'2" is it's a perception of strength. Mm-hmm. And a physical strength. But a guy who is your height will also protect you if you choose someone that has the same values as you. Right. And I always tell women, don't let that height get in the way. Again, you can miss an amazing, amazing man. Right. Because you're not going to mount for height. I have these friends that have been married. We all met in college, and he's 5'4", she's 5'9", and they've been married over 40 years happily. And they've been there for each other, through the ups and downs, have 3 kids, grandkids now. And height is not a quality. I mean, it's not a value. Amen. Quality. It's a preference, but it doesn't mean that he's a good guy for you because he's tall.
And that's a good point, Lisa. Thank you for saying that, because we talked earlier about those physical qualities that, they're not nearly as important as all of that beautiful, strong inner strength, the inner beauty, the inner values, and those types of things that, someone who's going to be there for you and have your back, that's not in the height.
Right. It's not in height. It's not in hair color. And men need to do this too. It's what's inside of someone, that's so important for this part of your life where you can have a great time together, but we're aging. And so like we talked about before, we're aging. So you want someone that's really got your back, your it person that's going to be there for you.
And some of the things that you would recommend to your female clients who say they want to be married, is there any type of advice that you would say, this is an absolute, I always say this to my female clients, like, show confidence or whatever. Do you have any tips like that you always say, it really needs to be there?
About being married?
Well, no, just in meeting guys, because you got to meet someone first to even have a candidate for marriage.
Well, I think how you feel about yourself is really important, because I know when I was married 24 years the first time. And when I came out of that marriage, I didn't really have a lot of self-confidence. And a lot of women don't when they come out of a divorce, because nobody's been telling them. Yeah. Hand raised. No one's been telling them, oh, you're amazing. That's not going on. I'm not saying that's necessarily going on in a lot of long-term marriages, but
we've got to tell ourselves.
Yeah. And so we forget what's good about us. And so the biggest thing I help women is to really come back into loving themselves, because men love women of all shapes and sizes. Yeah. And that's what we forget. We think, oh my God, I have to be a certain way for men to love me. And that's not true. But then that takes it to the openness of, you've got to look for someone that shares your values, not those physical qualities. And the second thing is women need to have a real understanding of men. Because when we were younger at this age, and when we got involved with someone, we grew up in a time when women's lib, equal rights, which are great. But we ended up also taking on a lot of the old 1950s stereotype things too. And so at this age, we started doing it all. I mean, we were just like, I am woman, let me roar. And I love watching kids today. I love watching my kids, because with their spouses, they really are way more partners, than I saw in our generation, because it was definitely the guy brought home the money, and the woman, she might be bringing home money, but she took care of the home still for our age, for a lot of people. And she worked, but still that childcare usually fell on her, cooking, the laundry, all that. Okay. So today, roles can be different, and you can be more of a partnership. And that comes really from understanding men. and understanding how to trigger the hero response in them, that they want to step up for you, because we emasculate men without realizing it all the time. It's a huge issue.
Wow. Is that when we kind of throw our weight around with our careers and our accomplishments and what we have and our net worth?
In a way, because that's our masculine side. And yet what we bring to the table, our biggest strength, is our heart and our emotions. And during all that I Am Woman, Let Me Roar, which was, like I said, we needed to move ahead. And it's a scary time now where we could be moving back. And that's scary. But we need to come from a place in a relationship of some vulnerability and allowing someone to give to us, because we can do it. We can do it all. We were taught to do it all. We were taught to give to everybody, and we burned out. And, we became exhausted. And men do want to help now. At this age, they do change. Like we change, they do too. And they want to step up for you, and they really do want to help you. But oftentimes, will say, no, I can do it myself. And then you've trained a man to not give to you. But anyway, our heart, men don't have the emotional compass we have, because when they were young and they started to cry, what were they told?
Big boys don't cry.
That's right. So they probably have more emotions than we do, but we can identify emotions because we were allowed to. So our strength is in helping men understand those emotions, and they're drawn to your emotions. It feels safe. And especially when you can identify your own emotions, when you come from, this is my job, this is what I do, versus your passion, your job, what you do, what you got, all that stuff, that's masculine. Whereas your passion for what you do, your passion for how you've lived your life, that's feminine, because it's heart energy. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I love everything you just said. I really do.
Thank you. I learned the hard way.
And Lisa, I know you have some, which social media platforms are you on? You're on Facebook. Where else are you?
I am on Facebook and I'm on LinkedIn. And those are our two main ones, because and Pinterest, I think too. I have someone that does that for me, because it's not my thing. But
what is your website?
And my website is called findaqualityman.com. And the reason it was named findaqualityman.com is because back in the day when I was starting my business, I had a business coach that said, what is the biggest problem that women have? And you mentioned this in the very beginning about both men and women, finding a quality person. So I was just going to help women. So it was findaqualityman.com.
I love it. I love that title. It says it all, basically. I mean, I would go as far as to say anyone who wants to be in a relationship, of course they want a quality person. They don't want a scammer. They don't want a liar, a cheater, or, they want a quality person because they themselves are quality. So that makes sense. Now, are you accepting new clients?
Yes, I have a wonderful group program that works really well, where I have space for some new clients. But I want to go back to what you just said with the quality, and I do want to emphasize it again. The quality doesn't come from physical attributes. The quality comes from how people live their lives and how their values are, and if they match yours.
That is incredible. I love it. It's valuable, it's real, and that is what we need to make sure we leave you with, that statement, because it's powerful. And I know you've been watching this show to get some tips, and Lisa, you have been an incredibly wonderful guest, and I totally understand why Dr. Phil sought you out now.
Thank you, Kathy. You're wonderful to have me on your show. I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you also, because as you know, we are living in some very difficult times. We are in the middle of a mental health crisis in this country, and people are suffering. And and people need people. I mean, we need each other. So you coming on here, helping us to understand, how to find that quality person that matches your values, that matches you on the inside, and don't get so caught up on the outside, because that's not it's not going to sustain you. So Lisa, thank you so much. And we might end up having you back, because I'm sure my inbox is going to just overflow with questions for you, ma'am.
I would love to come back and answer those questions, Kathy. Anything for you.
Oh, sweetie. Well, thank you, Lisa. And we're going to sign off for now. And we thank you so much for joining us. And join us same time next week for another empowering episode. Good night, everyone.